morning, honourable members. Good morning to the Department of Social Development and any guests that might be present this morning. This is the Standing Committee on Social Development, Tuesday, the 16th of September 2025. Honourable members, according to our agenda this morning and our meeting conducted virtually, we are receiving a briefing by the Department of Social Development on the foster care program, including the backlog of foster care cases and also the challenges of child-headed families in the province. Honourable members, please note that after we have received the briefing, we will then engage the department on questions and answers, and then we will excuse the department, after which we have a second part to the meeting, and that is the consideration and the adoption of the minutes of the meeting of the Social Development Standing Committee of the 2nd of September 2025, as well as the committee report for the unannounced visit that we conducted to the SASSA offices on the 19th of August 2025. Ms. Jamke, our procedural officer, can I kindly confirm whether we do have a quorum and we can proceed?
Yes, Chair, we do have a quorum. You can proceed.
Thank you very much. The meeting is then formally in session. I will now allow for all honourable members, as well as the department officials and any guests, if there are guests present this morning, to kindly introduce themselves for the record. My name is Wendy Kaiser-Philander, and I'm the chairperson for this committee.
Morning, Chairperson and colleagues. I am Member Boyson, and I'm a member of this committee.
Good morning, Chairperson and everyone. My name is Raisa Vanvorn, and I'm an alternative member of this committee.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Donita Stevens, and I'm a member of this committee. Thank you.
I'm Thomas Walters, and I'm a member of this committee.
I'm Peter Johnson, and I'm a member of this committee.
I don't see any other members. I will then give over to the department for introductions.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to you and the honourable members and the departmental colleagues. I'm Robert MacDonald. I'm the head of department for social development. And then I will also hand over to the colleagues who are joining me, starting with the Chief Director, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you very much, Dr. McDonald.
Good morning, Chairperson and members. My name is Charles Jordan, and I'm the Chief Director for Children, Families and Vulnerable Groups by the department. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson and honorable members. My name is Tembikile Kwakweni. I'm the Director of Children and Families within the Department of Social Development. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Chair and honourable members. I'm Najwa Talib, Provincial DSD Programme Manager for Foster Care. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson and members. I'm Jessica Payne. I'm Social Work Policy Manager for Care and Services to Families at DSD Western Cape.
Is that the full complement of the department?
Yes, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jordan. Honourable members and departmental colleagues, the purpose of today's briefing is for the committee to get a briefing from the Department of Social Development on the status of the foster care program in the Western Cape, with particular attention to two pressing concerns, and that is the backlog of foster care cases and the growing challenge of child-headed households in our province. As we all are aware, foster care is a vital component of our child protection system, and it is offering a lifeline to thousands of vulnerable children who need safety, stability, and care. However, the sheer scale of the foster care caseload and the administrative and legal complexities that accompany It have contributed to persistent backlogs that can delay access to critical support services and grant funding for affected children and families. Equally urgent is the issue of child-headed households, which is a stark reflection of the broader socioeconomic and health-related pressures impacting on our communities. These children, many of whom have lost one or both parents, often shoulder adult responsibility far too early in their life, with limited support and guidance. Today's briefing, honourable members, presents an opportunity for us not only to reflect on the progress made in addressing these challenges, but also to gain a clear understanding of what obstacles remain and how this committee might support more effective and responsive interventions. Honourable members, we have received the presentation by the department, and I'm sure you have gone through it, perused it, and also framed your questions and comments to that accordingly. I will now hand over to the department to brief the committee on the matter at hand, and after which we will then engage on the presentation. Dr. McDonald, I will allow you an opportunity, and then you can navigate or indicate to us who will then be dealing with the actual presentation. Thank you very much. You may proceed.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. We've seen a very sharp increase in the number of children in foster care in the Western Cape Department of Social Development, and that will be reflected in the presentation. But it's increasing still quite rapidly, so there's a lot of pressure on the system, as you've rightly observed. So I will ask the Chief Director, Mr. Jordan, and his team to proceed with the presentation, and then we'll be happy to take questions afterwards. Thank you, Chair. Over to you, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you very much, Dr. McDonald. You may proceed. Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Can you see the presentation?
Indeed, we can, Mr. Jordan.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will do the presentation, but I will also ask Najwa Talib, our foster care manager, just to jump in here and there if needed. But yeah, let's start with the presentation, and thank you for the opportunity. I can just also start to say that this is a very complex field, and it's a very administrative burdened field. Our social workers have lots of administrative processes to do, and that is in line with the Children's Act, prescribed by the Children's Act processes and steps and documents that needs to be filled in. So it's quite a process. But let's start with the presentation. Okay, now why does, okay, there it goes. So just in essence, just basically to confirm that the Department of Social Development, when we talk about childcare protection services, we are very responsible for awareness, prevention, and early intervention, and statutory and reunification services. That's the model we follow. So it's a 4-tier model with prevention, and early intervention, statutory being the 3rd level, and reunification services. And we do this through our regional offices, and then also through our designated child protection organizations. I think it's very important because I sometimes do pick up that people do not have a full understanding of the difference between our regional offices and our DCPOs, our NGOs. They're doing exactly the same work. We, as DSD, designate them to render statutory services, so they get a 5-year designation, and we renew it every 5 years after we've assessed them. And this gives them the full right, these organizations, the full right to also remove children and also place them in foster care or in adoption or any other process. So they've got the full mandate. The major difference is that DSD operates in specific areas, and the DCPOs have been allocated other areas so that the two spheres do not crisscross each other. Okay, okay. I think the most important question is actually, what is foster care? I do pick up a lot of people do not understand what it means, the full terminology. So foster care is when a child in need of care and protection is placed with a suitable person who's not always their parent or legal guardian. This happens through a court order. So in other words, we've got to go to the children's court, and it's meant to provide the child with a safe and healthy environment until they can be reunited with their family. If it is not possible for reunification with the family, long-term solutions are considered, including extended foster care of a child or adoption. I must also add that people need to understand that foster care is a temporary process. It could be that the child is placed for a maximum of 2 years with either the family or with unrelated people, and then reunification can possibly happen, which means the child then leaves the foster care system. The goal of foster care is simple. It keeps a child safe when their biological family cannot keep them, like the mother and father. It gives them a nurturing and stable environment, which they could not receive from their biological parents. One of the goals is to help reunite the children with their family when possible. If family reunification isn't an option or it's not possible, then it provides sort of a long-term care till they're 18 or in a stable setting. I think it's very important for us to look also at the number of social workers we've got in the province that's either being employed by DSD or by a designated child protection organization working with child protection services. So if you look at that first 3-4 columns, that reflects only DSD. The last 3 columns refers to designated child protection organizations. And just to add, we've got about 107 child protection organizations. They are organizations such as Child Welfare, RCFF, Badisa, those kinds of organizations, just to familiarize yourself with that. So if you look at the dedicated social workers to render foster care, in other words, they do this full time. There is employed by the end of August, which is now last month, 94 dedicated social workers. There's about 9 vacancies and still required about 7. Then in the department, you've got generic social workers. In other words, this is social workers that renders all kinds of other functions. They're also involved with child protection, but they could also be involved with older persons, disabilities, families, parenting programs, counseling, all of those kinds of stuff. So there's about 468, and we require about 34. Then social auxiliary workers, this is your workers that assist the social workers administratively. They've got matric, but they are studying towards a diploma or degree in social work. So there's about 207 employed, and we need 74 still additionally. And then social work supervisors is very straightforward. That's the supervisors of the social workers. So there's 93, 10 vacant, and about 5 that's required. So in total, we've got about 862 social service practitioners in the department, of about 120 that need still to be filled. If I go over to the DCPOs, the child protection, designated child protection organizations, so they've got 122 social workers dedicated to foster care. They've got 3 additional they still need to require. They've got generic social workers, 141, and about 8 still required. Social auxiliary workers, 123. They require 11. Social work supervisors, 46. And at this stage, all of those supervisor positions have been filled. Or they have funds to have filled all of those positions. So if you look at the number of social workers by the DCPOs, it's 432, and they need about another 22. So all in all, if you look at DSD's 862, and if you look at the DCPO's 452, we've got about 1,200 social workers plus minus, close to 1,300 servicing the whole province, which is indicating this is a scarce skill and also indicating that there is still a big need to fill positions. If we talk about children in foster care, you can see right far at the right-hand side at the bottom, it indicates currently there's 43,140 children in the foster care system in the Western Cape province. We've also broken it down for you per region. And I've also broken it up, well, not me, my staff, I've broken it up with regards to related, unrelated, and cluster foster care. So at the top, you will see it's related. That is children that's been placed by their families. In other words, biological mother and father's not in a position to take care of the children. Might it be because of them using drugs? Might it be that they've been abusing the children? So a total of 21,112 children is by families, and that's according to Section 159. Now, Section 159 is where the Children's Court places a child in foster care for 2 years. That is the period, the maximum period that the Children's Court placed them. So 21,112 children has been placed for 2 years by a Children's Court. The Section 186 order is 7,575 children. That is the section of the Children's Act that allows or let the Children's Court make the decision to place a child longer than 2 years by that family. So they place the child actually up till the age of 18. These cases are usually children where they cannot be reunified, where the court decides that. On the recommendation, the social worker office, in all of these cases, we've got to provide reports for every single child that goes to court. Might it be 2 years, might it be 18 years, up till the age of 18 years. So then the court decides, okay, no, fine, according to the investigations, the info at their disposal, and the Children's Court sometimes actually ask for additional investigations. Then they decide, I'm going to find this child. There's no ways or any possibility that this child can be reunified. So let's create a stable environment for the child and place them till the age of 18. So the court order doesn't have to be renewed every 2 years. Section 176, that is children that court orders gets extended beyond 18 years of age up till the maximum age of 21. So, for example, the child is studying, might it be by university, or the child is still in school. The child is 18 years of age and only still in grade 11 and 12, but probably will finish by the age of 19 or 20, or as I said, they're studying further, like a diploma or degree. Then the court will extend another period on a Section 176. So if you look at those numbers, there's 2,182 of those kind of Section 176 children above the age of 18 by families. The next 3 columns is unrelated. So this is children that's been placed not by families. This is inverted commas, almost strangers. I also must say that the foster care parents do get screened and recruited. So they go through a process. They've got to get police clearance, and they're also being checked against the Child Protection Register. So in all of these cases where families or even unrelated, those parents have to, or those foster parents have to go through that process. You can see the numbers is much lower by non-family members. In the spirit of the Children's Act and also the approach with the profession of our social workers, your first choice is always to place a child with family, so that creates also familiarity and stability. So you will see children placed for 2 years is 6,451 by unrelated. Section 186 up till the age of 18 is 4,000, and there's about 1,476 children that's over the age of 18. Then we've also got something unique, which is cluster foster care. The cluster foster care is a few homes that's clustered together, where you've got foster parents and house mothers looking after children. DSD also have to register these cluster foster care homes. So it's not just any person that can do it. They must be screened. But you will have like 2-3 houses on the premises where children stay, and not more than 6 children are allowed to stay in the house to avoid that they are all cramped up. So this is smaller numbers because we don't have that many cluster foster care schemes. So children has been placed just for 2 years. It's 283. Up till the age of 18 is 19. And children over the age of 18 is 12 of them. I must also say, with Section 159 orders, might it now be by the family, non-family, or by the cluster foster care? And this is where the burden comes in for our social workers. Yes, they get placed 2 years, according to the court order. That court order needs to be renewed every 2 years. So every 2 years, the social worker needs to go back to the children's court, resubmit a full report, how the child's doing, what's the circumstances of the child and the family, what's the circumstances still of the biological parents. So it's a whole investigation that just doesn't happen one night. It's quite a process. So these big numbers, you can see this is where the social workers needs to go every 2 years back to court, so that the court can then decide to extend it for another 2 years, or to then use a Section 186 to make it up until the age of 18. You will, however, see that the courts in general, although we've promoted it as department to use Section 186, and years ago it was much lower, the Section 186, placing a child till the age of 18. The courts in general, however, prefer to do the Section 159, in a way enforcing that social workers do go and visit regularly the children, because they will have to, if they have to renew a court order every 2 years. So yeah, it's quite a lot of children in the system. If you look at our regions, you will see the highest number is here by Cape Highlands, which is your Worcester, Stellenbosch, Paarl areas. That's where we've got the highest number of children in foster care through all those regions. Okay, just something interesting. You can see how it has grown over the last 5 years, the number of children in foster care. So when we started with keeping record, well, we've always kept record, but we've only this past 4 or 5 years had the opportunity to place a full-time foster care manager in place who has specific functions. This is Ms. Talib that reports to Mr. Kwakini. So she and a team of 2 people sits on a provincial level, and then they also coordinate with all our regions and DCPOs about statistics that comes in. So in 2020 to 21, there was 55,000 children in the system. The next year, 21-22, it increased with 1,343 to 56,673. Then there's a big jump here, 22-23. This was after COVID. So we went into lockdown March 2020. Although this department was not in lockdown, we still had to operate. And children lost their parents due to various COVID reasons. A lot of abuse took place during COVID with the lockdowns. So in that question of when the levels became to level 3 in COVID in year 2022, you could see that the numbers were increasing. There was a spike there. 2023-24, the numbers dropped again. Only 1,000 increase for that year. But if I say dropped, I mean dropped from 2,800 that was placed in the previous year. But your overall numbers did still increase to 40,566. Last year, it went up to 42,725. And then from April till August month, which is 5 months, 415 children came into the system, which means we've got 43,140, as I've indicated. So if you look at the summary, a total of 7,810 children came into the system since 2021. Okay. Honorable Chair, this is one slide me and my team have put in last night, so I will resend this old presentation again to Nomonde. But this was also something that we thought was important for the committee to be aware of. So this is the number of orders processed. So in other words, if you are responsible for a child and a court has placed the child, this is the numbers. And you can see it's quite a lot of numbers of court orders that's been processed by the courts. So in 2020-21, it was 7,900. And 21-22, it was 8,600. 22-23, 7,300. 23-24, 15,000 court orders were processed. And that had to be also part of a process where there was there was a court case against all the provinces from the Child Law Centre on backlogs. So that you could see that's an increase of backlogs being worked in. The backlogs was very high at one stage. And in 23-25, a significant increase in backlogs were eradicated. 24-25 was also a high number of 9,880. And then just for this past 5 months, it was already 5,297 court orders. So in total, over this past 5 years, 54,000 court orders were processed, placing children in the foster care system, extending it every 2 years, and children also extended beyond 18 who are studying further. So that's big numbers. The total orders that are due for 2025, I think the thing that the people also not always 100% sure about backlogs, there is reasons for backlogs, which we'll get into just now, but also important to notice, these numbers we project for the whole year. So this is numbers up until December 2025, which is the next 4 or 5 months. That includes that. It's not only numbers that's still lagging behind. You can see the breakdown of foster care orders due per month. That is, so in that month, so many orders needs to be extended. So you can see, for example, January 2025, it was 376. And so it goes on. November is going to be a very busy month. There's over 977 orders that needs to be extended. So it is quite big numbers. Once again, you can see Cape Highlands. It will also reflect here the number of court orders that needs to be extended. So just in Cape Highlands alone, it's 2,159. It's quite a lot. Total of deviations on foster care orders. So there was deviations of 3,546. The progress on it is currently 562 has been dealt with. 24 children have left the system. They turned 18 and they left. And then there's a total of 586. In other words, that's been dealt with. So your backlog there is 2,960. And the reasons are on the next slide. So reasons for deviation, we have to report it. And these documents, we also have to report to National DSD on a monthly basis. So you can see the big backlog is the 1,028. That's where social workers are still busy investigating. As I've said, investigating every time a situation that a child's been placed in is not a thing that happens overnight. that social worker needs to contact the family. They've got to talk to the child. They've got to go to the school. They've got to go to the neighbors. They've got to go to other family members. They try and trace the biological parents again. They speak to the biological parents. It's quite a process. It's an administrative, very overburdened process. Then there's 4 of them outstanding, which is not too many. We're writing school letters. In general, we had a problem with schools. They insist on school fees. And then obviously it's a process for us, but that number we've reduced significantly. So the school needs to confirm also that child is in school so the child can get a foster grant. And also it is a matter of that the parents then don't have to, the foster parents don't have to pay school fees. Then 1 awaiting a police clearance certificate, just 1 case. Then awaiting response from canalization. Now we've got canalization officers in each of the regions. That's where all the casework comes through. So canalization is a senior social worker. We've got about 56 of them sitting in each SDA, service delivery area or regional office, where all of these cases, when a case needs to be, a child needs to be placed in foster care, it goes through there where we keep record, or if a court order needs to be extended, it's been kept there. So we're waiting there for the canalization office, only 8 cases, which is not a lot. Then 10 cases of completed social workers reports awaiting submission on the lapsing month of the court orders as prescribed to the respective presiding officers. So it's only 10 cases there. Then a big load of 355 is social work reports submitted to the Children's Court, and we're waiting for court dates. It is sometimes a process that we struggle with, waiting for court dates. And then 460, luckily, court dates have now been allocated. So you can see there's a lot of cases currently in court, over 700 cases at court waiting to be processed. Okay. Then there was 6 court dates was postponed. It could be the unavailability of the social worker. It could be the unavailability of the magistrate. Then another thing that we sometimes have a concern about, and it's 303, is waiting for court orders to be issued. It sometimes takes up to a month after the court session took place and this child has been placed in foster care that the court actually issues this court order. So our social workers has constantly got to follow up with the courts, constantly dealing with matters with the courts. So that number is also very high. Errors on issued court orders, just up till now, there's 85 court orders that's been issued last month with, well, not only last month, say the last 3 months, with wrong information in. So they've got the child's birth certificate number wrong. They've got the ID number wrong of the foster parent. They've got the address wrong. They've got the child's name wrong. So that's the kind of stuff we're struggling with as well. Then presiding officers not extending foster care orders due to varying interpretations, 69. We've got a problem here with the Strand Court. I think it's Strand. We'll see on the next slide. Where 69 of those cases, the magistrate just don't want to extend the court orders. We have been to a level as DSD as one of our main challenges. I have personally written to the chief magistrates. My teams have done it. Our NGOs have engaged the chief magistrates in one meeting. Otherwise, the chief magistrates just don't respond to DSD or to the NGOs. The one thing that I'm very thankful for, Chair, and I'm saying something now that I'm probably not supposed to say, but I'm going to say it. I'm very grateful that the Western Cape Children's Commissioner is an ex-magistrate. We all know she comes from Kuils River Blue Town's Children's Court. So she knows the chief magistrate, she knows the magistrates. So we're looking forward to engage her on these kinds of matters to unblock the challenges. Then court orders not submitted to SASSA. There's 276. In other words, the court orders come from the court, then it goes to our canalization officers at DSD, and then monthly the court orders must then be handed over to SASSA. So that is in process. And then there's 299 foster care orders that's already by SASSA that they must capture the foster grants. So they're busy with waiting that. And then there's other random stuff, which is about 56. So that makes up your 2,916. So if you look at this 2,916 backlog, your issue is a little bit of SASSA that needs to process grants. So we can't take that numbers off. So the backlog has gone through the court already. It's just now to upload the foster care grant. So there's about 500 of that. Then your other big issue is waiting for the court orders to be issued, over 300. And then just going back, the investigations. So cases have been allocated. It's not that the social workers are not dealing with these matters, but there's over 1,000 cases right now that our social workers are investigating. And then you can see over 700, which is our other issue, our challenge, is waiting for court dates from the Children's Court. So that's your major issues. In general, my personal opinion after all of these years, I think we're doing very well as a province with the backlogs. If you think how it was years ago, before even I arrived and being involved, then it was big numbers, double, triple the number that it's now. So there's a good system in place. There's a foster care manager, as I said. There's identified social workers in the regions. We are on it, but we have dependencies from other sister departments or other national departments that do have effect with us. But be assured, we are in constant communication with all of them. Okay, challenges. The one big challenge for our social workers is tracing birth parents. Those biological parents just disappear. And in foster care, birth parents still have their rights, even if their child has been placed in foster care. It's not that the child has been placed under guardianship or in adoption, where they lose their rights as parents. In the foster care system, the birth biological parents still have rights about the child. Then there's delays in receiving reunification reports from external organizations and social workers. So when a child needs to be reunified, there's another report that needs to be done. And sometimes because of the overburden of social workers, those reports sometimes are being delayed. Other big problem we have is foster families. So these children have been placed by family, not unrelated, and they just move from town to town or province to province without informing the social worker. So when we get there, they're gone. Then we have to start a whole process of tracing them. Another big thing is not all clients have mobile phones, or the one interesting thing of our community is they keep on changing their mobile numbers. I found it with the older persons as well. That cell phone numbers get changed every 3 months. Or they also not always charge it. So it's very difficult to contact them telephonically, which means the social worker, that 1,000 cases that's being investigated, they physically need to go and look for people. Because a report needs to be done with all of them included. Then obtaining support and documentation from foster families can delay processes. Example, if the foster family needs to help get a letter from the school, the foster family takes long to give it, or we struggle to get hold of them to actually give this document to us. Then the magistrate courts issues interim foster care orders and postponements if more information is required. So instead of giving 2 years, they would say, okay, we give it for 6 months. I want further investigation, which means the social worker needs to go back in 2 years, which is not the normal extension. It can be more than 3-4 times that social worker needs to do further investigations. It all depends on the magistrate court. As I've mentioned before, the magistrate courts predominantly issues Section 159. That's foster care orders that's just valid for 2 years. They don't do the long-term foster care placements, the 186, which means there's a big administrative burden on our social workers. There is definitely different interpretations and implementation of the Children's Act by different magistrates. So even our magistrates don't have consensus how to implement certain parts of the Act because of their ways of interpreting it. So it's quite a battle for us. I must say we've got a very good relationship, for example, with Magistrate van der Merwe from our Cape Town Magistrates Court. He's very willing to always teach some of his colleagues and even social workers in the whole foster care process, the interpretation of the Children's Act. But unfortunately, you've got magistrates that do not interpret it as they should. Then the delayed issuing of birth certificates and the long waiting periods for panels from the Department of Home Affairs. So the HOD, myself, and other chief directors of this department have been engaging Home Affairs, and we've got a specific project looking at how to deal with this delayed issuing of birth certificates. Without these birth certificates, the court is not going to grant an order easily. They don't do that at all. So we have given, was 3 months ago, actually over 550 birth certificates we gave to Home Affairs, or sorry, names and contact details for Home Affairs, saying, listen, Home Affairs, yes, over 550 birth certificates that's been outstanding from your department for the past 2-3 years. They came to the party. I see we now about 400. So in this last 3 months, they've helped us with about 150. Then another challenge we have is undocumented provincial transfers. Long waiting periods from other provinces to receive court orders, transfer documents where foster families move to the Western Cape without informing the social worker. Chair, ek sug sommer, these transfers, when people move to other provinces, the whole file needs to go, for example, to Eastern Cape, or you get children coming from the Eastern Cape, the foster family, with the child coming to the Western Cape, or from Gauteng or KZN. We struggle to get the files from our counterparts of DSD. Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, just non-responsive as DSD. So from my side, on chief director level, I do engage the chief directors. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. But the provincial transfers for children from other provinces is a problem. So we are dealing with it. We do get it right, but it just takes long. It's not that we're not succeeding, it just takes long. Then, as I've mentioned before, another challenge for us is waiting periods for court dates and court orders. We cannot tell a court what dates to determine. The children court are also overloaded. So we are dependent on the courts for court dates. The court orders, we have been speaking to magistrates to say we cannot wait a month after the court hearing took place to then we only find or get the court order. It should actually be issued immediately. Another problem we're facing is high turnover of our social workers in the NGO sector. Yes, there's only 452 employed, as I've indicated in my previous slides, but high turnovers, very high turnovers. Social workers leaving the country, social workers, and this is a survey and discussions I've had with my team, with the NGOs. The NGOs, social workers, and you get it in DSD as well, Honourable Chair, social workers are burning out because of this administrative process. These court delays, the court issues, it's a burden. It's a burnout burden, the administrative process, going to court, doing investigations constantly, it is quite a process. So a lot of social workers come to a point and say, I'm no longer going to work in such an environment with this high level of administrative things. I'm not going to go through a process where a court is shouting and screaming at me or sitting me, call me in 8 o'clock in the morning and only hear our case 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've had various complaints from social workers indicating the court calls them in 8 o'clock and they sit there till 3 o'clock before that child's case has been heard. The social worker sits the whole day in court, where she or he could have dealt with lots of other crises. High caseloads of social workers. It is just a mere fact that the number of social workers we have in this country and Western Cape Province is not enough. We've got society and communities falling apart because of unemployment, because of drugs, but more unemployment than anything else. So we've got a lot of cases, and it's ridiculous how high some of these cases are that our social workers need to deal with. And then I'm not even talking about foster care. We're talking this morning about foster care. I'm talking about all the other cases they need to deal with. Shortage of resources, particularly in the NGOs, vehicles, office space, paper and computers. So we have done that for this past 2 years, where we have provided additional funding to NGOs for computers, for laptops, to contribute to their office rent. And just last month, I gave one in Vredenburg area additional money to rent a car. The DCPO in Vredenburg had one vehicle, it broke down, and they had nothing. And DSD had to jump in to help remove children from the areas where the NGO is operating. So this has been notified to me, and I immediately release money so that they can rent another car and fix their other car. So that's the kind of stuff that we do. A big thing is also one of our challenges when the social workers need to go do foster care investigations. It's your gang violence, your crime, your hijacking of our social workers, the hijacking of the GG vehicles, and specifically in the hotspot areas. Minister has made quite a release, a media release, and also I would think, and I've heard him in standing committees and even in Parliament talk about the safety, and it is also on the provincial risk register for health officials, social workers. That's been targeted. It creates a lot of problems. Then the one thing we need to address is lack of transitional programs and resources for young persons leaving the system. So we've got a few little processes where we prepare them. When you leave at the age of 18 completely the foster system, we'd help transition you. So we've got specific programs for it, but not enough. So that's something that we need to strengthen, so that when they leave, specifically those ones leaving the non-families where they've been placed, that we support them. The 21,000, or actually it's about 50,000 that's with families of the 43,000. They still got a family support when they turn 18, and a lot of them still stay with that family. With the unrelated family members, it's sometimes a bit difficult. So we have programs where we're doing transitional, but it needs to be strengthened. So at the end of August, you will see reasons for removal. We've removed 24 children from the baseline. 7 were reunified with their biological parents. 7 turned 18. There was a variation in order of 4 of them. Foster care supervision and monitoring services was requested from the court. 4 was transferred to another province, and 2, unfortunately, 2 children died in the foster care system, and that was not to abuse, that was due to illness. So 24 of the children was removed from our baseline of 43,000. Interesting, just for your information, there's 2,367 children currently in the system of the 43,000 who's turned 18 years old and who are furthering their education. So at the end of August, we are extending the orders up till 21. So it's quite a good number. So it shows something positive in the foster care system. Also, a lot of children studying further degrees or diplomas and having opportunities that's been created for them. So that's also something positive. Challenges experienced at the Children's Court. Here I'm going more into detail. Metro South, which is your Wynberg area, we don't really have problems up till Simonstown. Metro North, clerk of the court not providing feedback regarding court dates. So that's Belleville Court. We're struggling there with court dates. Metro East, which is Somerset West. Oh, sorry, it was the magistrate of Somerset West, not Strand, that interprets Section 44 of the Act differently than everybody else. There's a delay in receiving signed portfolio of evidences from SASA. Court issued Section 156 orders for children already in the foster care system. Then SASA requires 159 orders to update, and so forth. So we've got a problem there with Somerset Court. We've escalated this challenge to the provincial level. Specifically, I've written a letter to the chief magistrate. We've asked for a meeting, no response. Then we actually have escalated this matters to our national department. National department have with the Department of Justice monthly meetings, and we actually escalate exactly these challenges in this slide to the national meeting between National DSD and the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Cape Violence, we've got outstanding court orders, so waiting long for it, and errors. It seems Cape Violence area love making mistakes on their court orders, the courts, specifically Ceres and Worcester. There's 146 children being affected. We do regular follow-ups with the court, flawed court orders. We return to the court. Yeah, so we return it to the court. Eden Karoo, also a problem with court orders taking long to reach DSD after the hearing took place, Beaufort West specifically. Delay receiving the foster care extension. It's 9 cases, so it's not too bad, but 72 there from George. So our problem courts are Beaufort West and George. West Coast, we've got no challenges with any of those courts there. Just maybe for your interest, how we are reporting on foster care backlogs. So thank you very much for requesting us to do a presentation to you today as the committee, but we also have to report monthly to National DSD 3 reports, which is a Provincial Foster Care Progress Report, a Foster Care Annex D report, and then a plan. So we've even got a foster care plan of recruitment, of how we're addressing all these challenges that we have to submit monthly to National DSD. Quarterly, we've also got to do a quarter foster report to National DSD. We've got to do a National DSD intersectorial report and a VEP victim report. Foster care engagements, this is the dates. So we've actually got a provincial foster care meeting that's been chaired by Mr. Kwakini. I used to chair it, but I have handed it over to the director. In that meeting is our local officers, DSD, and our NGOs. So that's the meetings. The recent one took place August, and the last one for this year will be 19th of November. Then, and this is where we discuss all these issues, all these challenges that I've mentioned. This is where we discuss it. We also look at each region's backlogs, looking at what's the reason. Why is there a reason? What are you doing to fix it? Then cluster foster care, that's the homes, and I'll show you just now the names. So Ms. Talib and her team have also regular meetings with these cluster foster care homes, engaging the children, engaging the foster parents, and so forth. Then we do foster care training, so social workers get trained in child protection, canalization, the foster care monitoring tool. We've actually got a tool that all of these 43 cases are being uploaded. So Ms. Talib and her team does regular training on that system. And you can see, for example, we've just completed now the child protection and the foster care management Power BI tool training again to some more staff or new staff coming into the department or the NGOs. And 16th of October is our next canalization training. And then we've also got training on cluster foster care training. This is all the dates that we train on parenting skills, training on the top-up grant by national, and we train the caregivers in the cluster foster care scheme and so forth. Programs that we offer to children placed in cluster foster care is like life skills programs. This is not to the children. That's in the scheme. Life skills programs, child protection, awareness and prevention programs for children, even for the caregivers, for the staff and community members. We do child health education programs. There's psychosocial counseling to children. Foster care monitoring and supervision services by cluster foster care social workers. There's holiday programs. I think there was recently a parliamentary question from the committee about holiday programs about 3 months ago. So there's a lot of holiday programs running in the holidays. Leisure activities, community programs, parenting skills to the caregivers, to the parents, and we also train or give training even to adults in the community. That's not part even of the foster care system. We do GBV programs, therapeutic developmental education programs to children in placement of this cluster foster care organizations. We do prevention programs on teenage pregnancy. That is also a big thing. After school care programs, assisting the children with schoolwork. Tutoring and homework programs, assisting them with homework. Training and capacitation to caregivers and staff employed at this cluster foster care organizations. And then we do have at these cluster foster homes transitional care programs for young people leaving the system. So just out of interest, and I'm basically at the end, Chair. Oh, I've talked a lot, Chair. But we've got Home from Home. That's one cluster foster scheme. They've got 34 houses. We've got Nortra Community. They've got 2 houses. Omempi, we've got 2 houses. Acres of Love, there's 16 houses. And you can see also the number of children that can be taken up in those places. By Home from Home, 216 capacity, and Acres of Love, 77, for example. And then, so we've got a total of 7. Elawan Beni, we've got 5 houses there with 28 children. Life Child, we've got 2 houses with 12 children. Or the capacity, put it that way. I see only 6 has been placed there for now. And then Ikavalabantu, B2, they've got also 2 houses. So, Chair, that's my long story. I don't know if my team would want to say something. Mr. Lipo Kwakini, anything you would like to add? Although I think I've covered everything.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jordan, for your very detailed and extensive briefing to the Standing Committee this morning. Ms. Talib, are there any additions?
Thank you, Chair, and no additions from me. I think our Chief Director, Mr. Jordan, covered it all. Thank you.
Indeed, thank you very much. Honourable members, we will now have the opportunity to engage with the department on what was presented to us. In the absence of any hands, I think I'm going to go straight into it. Mr. Jordan and the team, with regards to the funded vacant positions, there was an amount of 134, and there was an amount in terms of DCPOs, an amount of 12. And you also made mention of amounts still required. If you can perhaps just give us some insight as to if these positions are funded, why are they still vacant? And then you've covered me in terms of what are the main reasons for children being placed in foster care. You've made mention of substance abuse and cases of abuse as well. Just latching onto that, you've also highlighted the high amounts in the Cape Winelands areas. So in terms of departmental focus and resources, you've also made mention of the various programs that the department offer. Are there a deliberate focus on the Cape Winelands area and exactly what that focus is? And then also there was mention made of the impact of foster care orders that lapses, specifically during the period of January to December this year. What happens in the meantime? If you can perhaps just give us insight into that process, and then also social worker reports that were submitted to the Children's Court, and also I think it comes to a total of 815, the 355 and the 460. And those cases that are awaiting court dates, also just give us insight into what happens to those children in the meantime. And then my last question would then be, now I think you've covered me in terms of the process, or I've mentioned that in my previous question. So that will be from my side. If you can please note and jot that down. And then I'm recognizing Member Walters and I'm recognizing Member Stevens.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, what really disturbed me about the presentation was, and I will describe it as a bottleneck at the children's courts. And it's something that we picked up in previous discussions in the Western Cape. But Chair, that strikes me as a fundamental bottleneck, not just in terms of assisting the children, but the extra workload that it creates and the, call it up and down the system type of pressure that it creates on the social work system. You in a sense covered some of the questions that I wanted to ask. So I'm going to pretend to ask a question by asking whether there's a possibility or whether there's a study from the department in terms of what the problems are, perhaps on the court side, on the Department of Justice side, and whether there's any proposed solutions. And in addition to that, what the positive impact would be if that side of the equation was working fully. And Chair, and then I have an obvious resolution coming when we get to that stage of the meeting, but I really think that is a fundamental bottleneck in the system that if we can solve that, we can make a real positive change. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Member Walters. I recognize Member Stevens.
Thank you, Chair. Some of my questions were already covered by the Chair. But I want to know on the financial capacity challenges. The presentation indicates that 4 of the 7 registered cluster foster care organizations are operating or are close to their full registered capacity, while other is only at 50% capacity. What is the department's plan to increase the capacity of these organizations, and what specific interventions are in place to address the financial shortages and resource constraints, such as the high turnover of social workers and lack of vehicles that are affecting service delivery in these essential partnerships? And then on the young adults leaving foster care, I see there's like 2,367 young persons who are furthering their education after 18 in the Western Cape. It also highlights a general lack of transitional programs and resources for young people leaving the care system. What specific programs and funding are being allocated to provide comprehensive support, including housing, career guidance, and financial assistance to these young adults to ensure their successful transition to independence and prevent them from falling back into vulnerable situations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Stevens. And then I recognize Member Windvogel. You are muted, Member Windvogel.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone, once again. And let me first welcome the report given by the department. I'm at the airport, Chair, so there's a bit noisy. But nevertheless, I wanted to understand from the department in terms of foster care. What is the total number of children not receiving grants for each child not receiving specific reason? Do they know the reason? And is it due to administration delays from SASSA, lapse of let's say court orders, or failures by the department to submit necessary paperwork? So what immediate, then I also want to understand what immediate corrective action is being taken for each child. Then secondly, Chair, if you can go to the reason for the deviations. Perhaps it was presented, but I missed it. So I want to apologize if I asked the question and it was answered. But I want to understand what are the updates on the cases still investigated by the social workers. In addition, beyond listing reasons, what is the department's concrete strategy to address the root causes? I will park there for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Windvogel. I note your hand, Member Kasim. I think it's quite a loaded first round. So I'm going to afford the department to respond, and I will come back to you for the first opportunity, Member Kasim. I trust that's in order. Thank you very much. Mr. Jordan.
Okay, Chairperson. Yeah, thanks. I'll try and see how we can answer all of it. I've scribbled it down. I'm sure HOD will also remind me if I've missed something, because he's usually good with also keeping record of questions.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Good. Najwa, you must also jump in here. There's going to be one or two I'm going to ask you to also expand to the committee. So if we look at the okay, thanks, Najwa. If we look at the funded posts, all of the posts are funded. Social work posts in the department are fully funded. If we do have posts that's non-funded, then it is either an admin post here or there, or it could be a community development practitioner post that's not funded. But we gave, as a department, priority to our social worker posts. So all social worker posts are funded. They are advertised. So if you look at the bulletins on a regular basis, 2 weeks ago, there was also a bunch of social worker posts that was advertised again. I think our big problem is also there's a lot of people leaving, resigning. The department's got a very interesting age cohort of middle-aged people that's going on retirement. But then there's also people that's leaving, and I think HOD must just correct me. There was at one stage 20 people resigning per month in the beginning of this year and last year. That social work is getting,
yeah, that's the social. Chair, though, it's a lot of social workers who leave for opportunities overseas.
Yeah.
And then there's also quite a few who promoted into the social work management or supervision positions. So there's quite a high turnover.
Yeah. Thanks, HOD. And the same in the sector, the NGO sector. Also very high turnover. Once again, also the same as DSD. They're leaving for overseas countries. They're getting much better pay, much better benefits. And I think the main thing is they've got less casework. Go to London and you've got a casework of 15 to 20 cases per month for a social worker. Come to South Africa and you can be anything from 100 to 200 cases per month. So the caseload is also a big thing. And that's something that we can't control because that's what's happening. That's the people that need support. So we need to be there for them. So there is funding available even for the NGO sector. So the post that's vacant, it's money we've given them already. Saying to them, listen, I'm funding you 10 social workers for the year. Say 4 of them resigned. I don't take the money back. I leave the money there so that they can actually then immediately start recruiting for new social workers, or they can actually then we give them permission to use the money then to purchase vehicles, to purchase laptops. In other words, for the furtherance of their operations. And I think that is sort of a question that Member Stevens have also alluded to, of financial resources and stuff. We do fund them. We do not take the money away from them if they've got vacancies. We actually make extra effort to fund them where their needs are, specifically in the DCPO sector. Cape Winelands, yes, there is a deliberate focus, member. That is the area that I myself specifically look at. Also in our foster care meetings, provincial foster care meetings, that's where we look at. So there is a higher number of social workers that would be allocated in that area to assist the cases due to the volumes going there. And then we've also got other organizations that we pulled in to help DSD. There's a very good cooperation between the NGO sector and DSD when it comes to foster care. We've got even now King Culture on board. It's an organization we do not fund. They do not want to be funded by DSD, but they are very much helping with screening of foster parents, safety parents. They support our social workers. They do not do strategy work. In other words, they do not physically remove children and place them in the system, but they support our social workers. So we've even gone so far in the Cape Winelands area and specifically Paarl Worcester area to have King Culture also supporting the NGOs plus DSD, and we've got an MOU with them to assist the department. So that was our specific focus. Najwa, I think if you can maybe just elaborate on the impact if there is lapses on court orders. Does it affect any children? That was the main question. If you can just maybe elaborate a little bit on that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you,
Najwa.
CD. Thank you, CD. Thank you, Chair and honourable members. Yeah, in terms of the lapsing of orders, it doesn't really impact the day-to-day care of the children because they remain in foster placement with their carers, and SASSA continues to pay the grant. So the children are not really directly affected. It is a more administrative process. And with the amendments of the Children's Act in terms of 56H, the Act now actually says that if a grant has lapsed or that has reached its expiry date, that order is still deemed valid until the court extends that order. So effectively, the children are not really affected by the lapse orders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tali.
Thanks, Najwa. So Chairperson, that is exactly also the next question where you asked about the social worker reports that's gone to the court. What happens to the children?
Yeah.
So even if they investigate, it does not affect the children. That family or foster parents still will get the foster care grant to support them. So it doesn't affect, even if the court sends our social worker back 4 times to go do a report or to go to look at something else, it does not affect the child's support, financial support, nor emotional or any other support the child needs within that home. That child still stays in that house where he or she is. Sorry, Chairperson, you wanted to ask something? I get a feeling you wanted to ask something now. Or am I wrong?
I'm covered for now, Mr. Jordan. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Chairperson. Then, Member Walters. Oh, I can't agree with you more. This bottlenecks. It's indeed a bottleneck by the courts, children's courts. we didn't do like a formal survey or anything relating to what's happening there at the children's courts, but I think we've got a pretty good idea and picture since we engage the courts quite often. Since our social workers are quite often in that court with that magistrate. So the issues are, I think, also to not throw them under the bus because that would not be collegial. Children's courts are also overdated. They're overloaded too. So I think it's a question of that they are overloaded. I do think the issue in some of the courts is the clerk of the court, not the magistrate, where the clerk of the court must send the court orders after that, or they make the clerk of the court is the one writing out the details sometimes on that order, making mistakes. But these kinds of stuff we follow up, that we check every court order coming to our department. That's why we know. I could tell you how many was wrong at what places. So we send it back. We keep track of it. These reports, this presentation I gave to you guys all today was, we do this monthly. This data we check monthly. So monthly I can see how many court orders have been sent back, which court it is, how do we intervene. That's why specifically I've mentioned Somerset West Court, where that magistrate interprets certain sections of the Children's Act totally different. So we try to engage the chief magistrate. But yeah, not with success. I have mentioned in my presentation, our next line of approach is going to be through the Children's Commissioner. So the Children's Commissioner has got a specific role with lobbying and advocacy. But as I said, fortunately, she understands the court system very well because she is part of the court system before she accepted this position as Children's Commissioner. So one of our priorities, and the HED's priority will be when he engages the Commissioner on a one-on-one, will be about our issues of the courts, where she can hopefully assist us of untangling that bottlenecks that I presented in this meeting. Okay, thanks. Then I think, Member Walters, I've answered your questions. Member Stevens, financial resources. Yeah, here is the foster care homes. You can see Ikabalabantu's got 10 places registered, but we've just got 7 children there. Life Child's got 12 and 6 places only. Ilawawambini is actually almost full. Home from Home, 166 and 216. The reason why here is some vacancies, the other 3 doesn't have big vacancies, it's small vacancies. We do have the funds and we can support it. Home from Home went through a transitional phase where they changed to a new area and they opened new homes. And there's also a matter with SASSA that they're dealing with, and they're not taking in any children, not before the matter of SASSA has been sorted out. So SASSA is in backlog with payment from some of these children because the SASSA can only deal with 150 foster care grants per entity. You can see there's 216. So SASSA is struggling. So myself and Mr. Lipa and Mr. Kwakini, we've engaged SASSA and we got Minister involved in this specific case. And luckily it has been sorted out. So next month it will look better and they will be able to start taking in more children. SASSA's got to pay them back something like 300,000 Rand or something in backlogs. So Najwa, what was that amount? Can you recall? Was over 300,000 Rand, eh?
Yes, CD.
Yeah. So thanks. So the others we're not concerned about. This is children leaving the places, but it's small numbers that's vacant, and we can cover that. The only one is Life Child. Najwa, is there a specific reason where they've just got 6 children instead of 12? You visit them quite often.
Yes, CD. In terms of Life Child, they the 2 children that were there, they were returned to family, and then they upgraded the home. The one house was upgraded, so they are open now for placements. Yeah.
Okay, so we hopefully will fill this soon.
yeah, we should be getting placements there soon.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Excellent. And Nigel, while you're here, there was also a question from Member Stevens. I think it's looking, and Member Windvogel also sort of touched on it, is looking at what kind of programs are they offering for children in transition, these cluster fosters. Member Stevens specifically asked that. So I've seen the program the other day, just if you can maybe expand a little bit on that.
Yes, the program is basically focusing on ensuring that they have the basic life skills, and they would normally go into the program around about the age of 15. They will enter the program and they will be taught like cooking skills, cleaning, just doing self-care, focusing on education, assisting them when they are older in the program as they get to 17, 18. They've been, prepared for writing their CVs, doing voluntary work, and also job hunting, making them, prepare them if they are not going to further their education, because not all of them. I have to say that a lot of our young people in the cluster foster care homes and even in foster care, they pursue tertiary education or college or further learning, which is really positive. And that is part of the programs in the transitional care, and assisting them with preparing them for job interviews, or even helping them with applications to universities and for bursaries applications where possible. And we have attended a documentary presented by UCT. And so currently there is a fact-finding process that we are undertaking to really strengthen the transitional programs for young persons in alternative care. And tomorrow is one of our first visits where Ms. Goosen, our CD Goosen, will be attending the visit with me to Home from Home, where we are doing some more fact-finding as to how we can strengthen transitional programs in the Western Cape. Thank you. I hope that covers it, CD.
Yeah, no, it does. Thank you, Najwa. But I think, Honourable Chair, it would also be maybe good in the future if the committee maybe visit one of these cluster foster care schemes, so that you also have a full picture and understanding of how the system operates. It's good to see this kind of stuff. Okay, then I think the last questions was from Member Windvogel. We've actually indicated all of the children in the system, the 43,000 children, 143, do actually receive grants. So even if it's lapsing the court order, it does not affect the child. That court order is still valid there. There is one case, and that is the 49 grants that we're struggling with the magistrate in Somerset West. So if you look at the root causes of our backlog, and I think that's what Member Windvogel was going to, if I understood the question correctly. It is a question of dates. There was dates that we were waiting for the courts, or cases in front of the court. So that's about over 700 cases. What do? We follow up with the courts. Unfortunately, we cannot tell the court what dates to determine for our social workers. That is the thing. The only way for us is to keep our relationship open with that magistrate, to see that we work together with them. And I see a lot of social workers actually have built up a relationship where they feel free to actually phone the magistrate. And the magistrate's got their numbers, where they would say straightforward to the magistrate, listen, here's court dates we're waiting for. Magistrate, what's happening? Can't we speed it up? Or I've got this case that needs to be pulled up that's more urgent. So it's working on that relationships. That's how we solve issues. Personal relationships, personal working relationships always assist a lot. And then I think the other main thing is over 1,000 cases still being investigated. So that is also part of our backlogs. The root cause of these kinds of stuff is stuff that can be dealt with the courts. We follow up, we talk to them. And the same with SASA. So Ms. Talib, as the provincial manager, when we pick up things are not being addressed by SASA in the local offices, like in Worcester or in Paarl or in Ceres, we have an open door to SASA head office here in Cape Town, to their managers, and they actually then start dealing with it. And a lot of cases are being solved. When we see there's a backlog where SASA is the root cause of not putting the stuff on time on the system, or they're missing something, we also get a list from them monthly, from a SOCPEN list from SASA, and we actually check those lists of stuff we've sent through and has it gone through, and have they actually put extended the SASA grant on the system. So there is good relationships. We are working on it, and that's why I said at one stage, I am happy if I look at the reasons for backlogs. It is problems we can solve. We must also remember this month I will have 2,300. It's a moving target. Every month there's orders lapsing. Every month. So for the rest of our lives, we're going to sit and deal with court order lapsing every month. I think I've just indicated in one of my slides, just to refresh your memory, for example, the total orders on the slide, just the orders for this year is going to be 7,756, and there's the number per month that we need to deal with of court orders. So the positive is we've got the numbers, we're projecting ahead, we're planning ahead, we've got systems in place to deal with these matters. I'm very satisfied that we are dealing with it. The one or two small little yakalsies, if I can use that word, is one magistrate in Somerset West, but we're going to deal with that via the Children's Commissioner, because that one is not always very accommodating. But otherwise, we've got a good relationship. I think that's that, Chairperson. I think I've answered all the questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jordan, and thank you also to Ms. Talib. I'm just inquiring from members Stevens and Winvogel based on the response provided, as well as member Walters. Are there any follow-up questions before we head over to the second round?
No, Chair, I'm covered.
Thank you very much, Member Stevens. Member Winvogel, you covered?
Yeah, Chair, I have a resolution that I'm going to propose for the committee.
Thank you very much, noted Member Walters. You've indicated. Colleagues, then we proceed to the second round. I recognize Member Kassim.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I just wanted to check, and I do apologize if I'm repeating a question that has already been answered. I lost signal for about 10 minutes. I just wanted to check on page 12 in terms of the 2 deaths in foster care. What are the reasons and how old were those kids? And then investigation still ongoing. I wanted to check how long has that investigation's been ongoing? Then in terms of foster care centers, I just wanted to check the ratio between foster care centers currently getting funding by the department and then also those who are not getting funding. And then is there like a waiting list, and how many foster cares made application to get funding from the department? Cases still investigated. I just wanted to check how long has these cases been in the still investigated process. And then lastly, the errors on issued court orders. What type of errors are we looking at? And then how long does it take to be resolved? Has the numbers changed? I think it said 85 court orders has errors. I just wanted to also check since when has that 85 been on that report? Has anything changed? And then mainly what are the errors that we are looking at in terms of that? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Member Kassim. I recognize Member Boyson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, for totally new foster parents who apply from scratch, what is the minimum criteria and what is the turnaround time for a yay or a nay regarding that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Boyson. And then just lastly for myself, colleagues, I think, or to the department, the SWIMS app indeed have yielded very positive results. Perhaps just give us insight into, I know you've made mention of the huge administrative burden when it comes to the foster care process and the ongoing process thereof. Just how does this process interlink with the app itself, and how does that relieve the burden in terms of administration as well? If you perhaps can just give us insight into that. And then I do not see any further hands from any members, then I will immediately hand back over to you. Member Kasim, before we proceed, is that another question?
Sorry, Chairperson, I forgot to ask my last question. I just wanted to check in terms of placement of children. I saw about 2 cases already where kids come from, strict Christian or Muslim households, and when they are placed in foster care, they are placed in completely different households who practice different cultures or religions. So I just wanted to check that process. Do you look at the child's background, where the child come from, or do you just determined based on a suitable household? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Kasim. And if I can perhaps just add as well, you've highlighted also the challenges with the various departments in terms of obtaining documentation. What are the plans going forward to establish that collaboration and synergy? I mean, instead of a parent having to approach a school, is there any plans going forward, perhaps for the department to directly engage with the school or the education department as such, and also going forward in terms of birth certificates with the Department of Home Affairs as well? Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Chair and Member, for the questions. First and foremost, with the 2 deaths, we can provide that info. I don't have it in front of me, unless Ms. Talib has it in front of her, and the ages of the children. And Ms. Talib, it's something we will have to formally send to the committee, because I don't think we have it right in front of us now. Yeah.
Yes, Siri, I recall that the one child is about 16 years old. He died in a car accident.
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah, the one boy was about 15, 16. He died in a car accident. And the other child is a child with profound special needs. And that child also passed away in hospital.
Yes.
So those were the 2 deaths. And that child was about 16 years old as well.
Yeah, thanks, Najwa. I remember the car accident because that was like a month ago, and the 2 of us were still upset about that. Okay, cool.
That's correct. Yeah.
I remember now. Thanks. Okay, so there's the response for the 2 cases, the 2 deaths: a special needs child with complications, and then a child in a car crash, both plus minus 16. Then investigations. Honourable Member, investigations, it can happen. Courts usually give 90 days. So when an investigation happens, the social worker's got 90 days to do it. Investigations depends on the court. The moment the court order is issued, then the investigation is finished. But the court can decide, no, they want more information, even after that 90 days. So we're very dependent on the court determining the time frame of investigation. But we do trace this monthly. So if you look at every monthly report, you will see the numbers change when it comes to the investigations of reports and writing reports and the investigation on a matter. With regards to the centres, there's not waiting lists right now. As you've seen, we've actually got some vacancies, which we are busy filling. So that is not a problem. And we do fund all of them. There's one that have exited. It was King Ambassador. It was a child, was also across the foster scheme. They were the only one that indicated they no longer wish to continue doing this kind of work. So we had to exit them and we had to deregister them. But all of these ones we are funding, that's registered. If it's a place that's unregistered, we will either close them down or we will put them through a process to be registered. The errors on the court orders, I've mentioned this before. The child's name is spelled incorrectly on the court order, or the ID number of the foster parent is spelled incorrectly. Sorry, is done incorrectly. It's small little things that the clerk of the court make mistakes on. Then we have to send it back and we follow it up. Once again, it is 85, but that number differs. It's a fluctuating thing. It's errors the court make. Various courts make those errors. It's not the same court over and over and over. It's specific regions. We do follow it up monthly. So this report I've presented to you today, we do it monthly. So the numbers will go up, it will go down as we follow it up with the courts. And that's how we monitor it. On the placement of children, culturally, let's rather put it this way. When a child has been placed in foster care, the first priority is with a family. In other words, that the child knows or are familiar with these people that they place with. It could be an aunt, it could be an uncle, it could be the grandparents. So, which means that the child is culturally still linked, language-wise, culturally still linked with a family, and that does not get affected negatively. If there's two cases of the 43,000 that's not been placed by culture or stuff, then there must have been specific reasons why that social worker has done that. And there could be various reasons. So it would be best if we know exactly the two cases, because then we could go into that. But I'm just making now a general assumption in my response. It could be that that child or that two children could not be placed by any family due to various background reasons, which means that the next option was to place them even if that parents were not culturally linked. If a child does not get placed in foster care, the next place will be in a children's home. And that's the last place where we want to place children. A children's home is the last place. So if a child has not been placed culturally, there should be reasons for it. But this department and social workers look at that specifically. They take everything into consideration. It's expected of them. New parents, there's quite a process. Najwa, you can maybe just indicate 100%, because I'm not involved in that process. It's more the regions. But there's a recruitment process. There's a screening process. They've got to go for counselling. There's a background check on the foster parents. They've got to be South Africans. They've got to have their home has been visited before they are approved, to see if they can provide a stable environment for a child. It does not always have to be a house in Constantia, luxury. We look at, is there a bed? Is there love and support? Is there food in the house? Is this person, has this person been screened? Has this person been vetted? That's the main things. It can take up to 3 months, as far as I know. Najwa, do you know exactly the time frame for new foster parents?
Yes, that is correct. It takes up to about 8 to 12 weeks for the person to go through the process of being screened as a new carer. We like CD has indicated, there's a home visit that's conducted, criminal checks, and also the last end is where the social worker compiles a report in terms of the Children's Act, where we have to find suitability. So there's a special criteria in the Children's Act that the carer must meet in terms of their suitability, their willingness and ableness to provide care, and that the environment where the child will be placed will be suitable and conducive for the development and the well-being of the child. And then the last process process is where the social worker submits the screening report with all the checks and the relevant documentation to our canalization services, which is the canalization officer that Sidi referred to earlier in the presentation. And then our canalization officer, as delegated by our HOD, they have special letters, so they will quality assure the report, and they will then, if they find that the carer is suitable and meets the criteria as set out in the Children's Act in section 8182, then they will then grant them a Form 39, and that Form 39 notice is attached to the court report to evidence to the court that this carer has been screened and has been found suitable and approved as a carer to provide the suitable care to the child concerned. So that is the entire process in terms of finding a person suitable for care. And then also just want to add about the matching. The question about the matching, we as a department, we have a matching criteria process. So when carers are matched or children are matched, not the other way around, we match our children with the carers. So looking at the needs, which are essential and preferential, and the essential ones, and matching them with the culture and their language, meeting the basic needs of that child is essential. It's very important to us. And sometimes also with the reasons that CD has also added or indicated is that sometimes our parents would know a family or identify a family, which is not necessarily always family. And then that could also be one of the reasons, because the parents would know a particular family to actually provide care to their child, and that is the preference of the parents. So yeah, thank you. That is my contribution.
Thank you, Najwa. Thank you very much. Then, Honourable Chair, with regards to the swims, yes, indeed, these cases would be loaded up onto swims. So it will definitely cut a lot of red tape regarding filling all the forms that needs to go with it. However, the social worker still will need to do a investigation. She or he will still physically have to go to the home to do an investigation, but the data can at least now be uploaded onto the system, and then when they prepare a report to the court, they can print a printout of that whole case and actually do a proper report with all the info that's already stored. Where the issue is still, where the SWIMS is not going to work right now, is not all the NGOs are on the SWIMS app as yet. It's only DSD plus 2 NGOs, which is Stalcare in Stellenbosch area, Eerste River, Stellenbosch and Eerste River, and Valley Development, which is Ocean View, Simonstown area. Ms. van der Renen, our Chief Director, is right now busy with RCFF. So RCFF has got 200 social workers just working in foster care and child protection services, and they've got something like 45 branches across the province. So the moment RCFF goes on, we will have more foster care cases on the system, on the SWIMS app. We also need to look, and I've known Ms. van Renen is looking at it, there is a foster care system, a national system, where all 43,000 cases are on the system. The child's name, birth certificate, the child's biological parents' names, address, the foster parents' details, all of that is on the foster care management system we have. So Ms. van Renen is looking at how she can let the SWIMS app talk to the foster care management system of National, so that that data can be directly pulled over to the SWIMS app. So the two of us have had that discussion. So that is a discussion that's started already with National, since the foster care system belongs to National and the SWIMS to the Western Cape Province. On our relationship and dealing with matters with other departments that Honourable Chair have asked, I think with the schools, the relationship has gone quite nicely. First and foremost, Education Department social workers is also going now on the SWIMS app. That's another positive. The second thing is, if we look at the letters, school letters, there's only 4. So it says to me that, and this number was much higher a few years ago. There is now a relationship where our social workers go directly to the school, where they do not actually ask the foster parent to deal with it. The social worker goes to the school and go get the information. The same with the birth registration certificates. A lot of times the social worker goes herself to Home Affairs. She's got all the documents that the foster parent's given, and she goes and accompany the foster parent if needed, or sometimes she would be the one making the appointment with Home Affairs. With Home Affairs, it's still a way to go, but we've got now a quarterly meeting with Home Affairs that has been institutionalized between our HOD, the Director of Home Affairs Western Cape, or the man, yeah, so he's the director. And then myself and Ms. van Reenen is part of that meeting as well as the managers of Home Affairs. So there is meetings where we discuss now these issues of birth certificates and things like that. So we have institutionalized it. I think it's also very important to mention that we have a Provincial Child Protection Forum, which is chaired by Mr. Kwakini. We do invite education, health, home affairs, SASA. They're all invited to these meetings. They're part of these meetings. The NGOs are, DSD, regional officers are involved as well. And then I've mentioned also how we've institutionalized these tracing and tracking is with monthly foster care meetings. So I've given the dates, for example, here. They're on that slide. So we've had one in March, one in May, one in August, and our next one is the 19th of November. This is where all the supervisors, NGOs, DSD, SASA's in that meeting too. We all sit in this meeting and talk about the stuff that you have questioned us about. Where is this portfolio of evidence? What's your issue with your court in George? That's the stuff we look at, and that happens quarterly. But then these reports we've given monthly in this quarter. This is also where we look at the numbers in these meetings that we've scheduled. So yeah, I think I've answered all the questions, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jordan. I'm just going to ask Member Kasim, any follow-ups? Member Kasim, are you covered? Member Boyson?
Chairperson, I'm covered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm also covered. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. And I think your mention and the work you're currently doing with regards to the National Foster Care Management System has adequately covered me as well. So
Okay.
thank you very much. Honourable
Pleasure.
members, any other questions or comments from your side? I'm sure there will be resolutions forthcoming in our second part of the meeting. At this stage, I'm going to ask Dr. McDonald, any closing remarks from your side
Yes, thank
or
you very much.
additions?
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present. I think it was very detailed, and thank you very much to Mr. Jordan and to Ms. Talib for all of the presentation details, and to Mr. Kwakwini. It's a very challenging area, and what makes it particularly dynamic in the Western Cape is that we have quite a large number of child protection NGOs that are working with us. So managing that partnership is a little bit complicated too. But I think what we can see is that we are making progress. I think the real sort of backlog on the social worker side is about 1,000. And the bulk of that is with the designated child protection organizations. So that's where our efforts are focused in terms of capacitating, helping them fill vacancies, and where they can't cope, we then also sometimes are stepping in and taking over and phasing out with some of those organizations. So I think the situation is manageable, but if we can speed up some of the other processes, we can bring the number down to much less than what it is. There probably always will be a slight backlog just because of the nature of the process and the nature of the work that has to be done and the dynamic nature of the families as well. But it is certainly down to a level that is manageable and doesn't pose a significant risk. But thank you very much for the attention from the committee, and we will continue to be reporting on this for the foreseeable future to the national level, and we will be available to continue reporting to the committee as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. McDonald. Thank you to you. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Thank you, Ms. Talib and Mr. Kwakini, for the work that you are doing in this space. I think as much as we dealt with the figures this morning, we are acutely aware that we are speaking about actual lives impacted. So thank you very much for the extensive and detailed presentation to the committee this morning. We look forward to further engage you on this matter, as well as our Western Cape Commissioner for Children, and also the other forums as mentioned during this session as well. Again, thank you so much for indulging, and in terms of parliamentary process, any other resolutions or recommendations or parliamentary questions in this regard will then be forthcoming to the committee. Thank you so much, and all the best in what you are doing. We do really appreciate the work that you are doing. Have a blessed week ahead, and you are now excused.
Thank you, Honourable Chair and Committee, for supporting us. We really appreciate your support and for the opportunity we had this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan, and take care of yourself.
Thank you. Will do. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
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 Honourable members, I'm recognizing Member Walters. You have a resolution?
Thanks, Chair. I would like to propose that we perhaps engage with the Children's Commissioner, particularly on the issue of the bottlenecks at the Children's Court. Now, obviously, we can't tell the Children's Commissioner what to do, but I do think it might be the kind of thing that falls within the mandate of the Children's Commissioner and that we engage there. I do want to caveat it. We're not in a position to direct what the Children's Commissioner is doing, but I think it might be a useful exercise. And then secondly, Chair, the issue of perhaps we should invite somebody from the Justice Department or the Children's Court. I leave it up to you to determine who the appropriate person is. I don't know the field well enough myself, but that we engage as a committee with the Department of Justice and the department in this regard as to what solutions can be found to remove that bottleneck. Chair, I think if we can fix that in this term, I think we'll make a major contribution to assisting in this field. It does seem if that the waiting times, the follow-up, the clerk at the court, I'm not suggesting that the problem, it's the entire operation there is not filled with people that also want to help. I think there quite possibly will be a lot of goodwill between different people there, but that we engage with the department as well as the Department of Justice and the relevant section of the Department of Justice as to how those bottlenecks can be dealt with.
Thank you very much, Member Walters. I am in complete agreement that we do engage the Western Cape Commissioner for Children and see how that bottleneck with her assistance can be eradicated. And then also in terms of your second resolution, I think Mr. Charles made mention of the foster care forum. That basically includes all the stakeholders, and we add to that we then also invite the Western Cape Commissioner for Children as well as the Justice Department, specifically the Children's Court representative to our follow-up meeting, if that is in order. I see Member Boyson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I agree with Member Walters, but I don't know whether this will be a rider or a total new recommendation. Is that it would also give us an opportunity, Chairperson, to invite the Children's Commissioner to give her plans, the future plans for the Commission to the committee. I don't know whether that would be a separate meeting where we don't have any other stakeholders, but either or, we use this as an opportunity for her to give us a vision, new broom sweeps clean, in terms of what we can expect and what the plans are for future engagements of the Commission. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Boyson. I think let us capture it as a resolution. If the Commissioner would perhaps, on its own, indulge the committee, she will indicate as such. We're going to have her or invite her to the committee as part of that specific theme or matter at hand. But if she indicates that the entire or the broader plan she would want to brief us on separately, then we can also consider that. Member Walters?
Chair, I fully agree with Member Boyson. We must just keep in mind that I'm not sure when the Children's Commissioner officially starts. From what I understand, she has to resign from a previous job still, so we just need to take in the timing of that, cognizance of what is reasonable. If we do it for argument's sake before she actually starts in the job, then it will not be reasonable. But obviously, I agree with it. Just take cognizance of the fact that she's hot off the press at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. Support. I speak under correction when I say I think it's the 1st of October, but we'll ask the procedural officer to just make sure of that date for us to plan our follow-up meeting going forward. Colleagues, and then just another resolution from my side. I'm very interested in the Cape Winelands area in terms of foster care cases. So I would want specific details on the resource allocation, on the amount of social workers allocated to the area, as well as to specific programs in that regard. If you can kindly capture that for us as well, Ms. Jamke. Colleagues, are there any other resolutions? I see Member Walters.
Chair, perhaps also, and I also to use Member Boyson's phrasing, I'm not sure whether this is a rider or whether this is a separate resolution, but I would also suggest we look at funding and possible funding for this particular field. That we add that as a theme for discussion.
Captured. Thank you very much, Member Walters. Ms. Jamke, are there anything else during the presentation that we might have missed out on that you perhaps have captured?
Only one, Chair. The department, Mr. Charles Jordan, advised that maybe the committee should consider conducting a visit to one of the cluster homes to better understand how the system works. So I only capture that one.
Indeed. Thank you very much for reminding and alluding to that. We can capture that as well. Honourable members, any other further resolutions or recommendations? I do not see any hands. Thank you very much. That concludes our first part of the meeting. Ms. Jamke, we can immediately go over to the minutes of the 2nd of September, please. Honourable members, our Standing Committee of Social Development, Tuesday the 2nd of September. Please check your attendance. Thank you. We may proceed. Now to the opening, welcoming briefing by the Department of Social Development, SAPS, on the coordinated interventions, data-driven strategies, and legislative measures to address the surge in child killings in the Western Cape. Can I please ask that members mute themselves? We are still in committee. Member Walters.
I move, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we just move along to just make sure that everything is captured? Of course, members did receive the minutes as well, the resolution, the recommendations, the further request for information, and then the closing. There is a proposal by Member Walters to adopt the minutes. Can I have a seconder?
I second, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. The minutes of the 2nd of September 2025 are then duly adopted and recorded. Thank you, Ms. Jamke. Our last colleagues, the Standing Committee report on our unannounced oversight visit to the SASSA offices. In attendance, please do check your attendance. The link between the oversight visits and the priority strategies. Given some background, members will remember we had a scheduled meeting on the day and then converted our agenda and our venue to an unannounced oversight visit. If there's no additions, we can proceed. To page 4. A further request for information and a resolution. Honourable members, are there any additions to the report? I don't see any hands. May I ask that, or may I ask for a proposer to adopt the report?
I propose, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Member Boyson. And seconder, I see Member Johnson. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Member Johnson. Honourable members, that deals with our business according to the agenda. Ms. Jamke, are there any other business?
Nothing from my side, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your support, Ms. Jamke. Honourable members, thank you very much for your active participation and your indulgence this morning. That concludes our business. Have a blessed week ahead. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chair.